Hi everyone, thank you so much for allowing me to take part in your day and joining me for my weekly setup this week. We're preparing for the week of the 13th, and since I'm since I'm traveling, I'm very excited to show you what I have kind of configured so far. Accompanying me is a very fancy hibiscus tea from Jason's Deli. So I hope you all enjoy any drink you all have with you, as I feel it always helps refresh the mind as well as we're putting our plans together. So cheers to that. So here is the planner of this year, an A6 common planner from Sterling Ink. I have just a little bit of stickers kind of accompanying me on this front pocket to make it look a little more pretty. Lately, for my plans, I have been enjoying taking the entire book out just because it allows me to write in better on the pages to have a more flat surface versus the bumps from the pockets. Now, y'all typically don't see this backside, and yes, I know it is very messy. I don't see it either, so it typically doesn't bother me. But now that it's out on the internet, I really should clean that out. Here is how my current week is currently looking. Now, since I am still working on it, I haven't done a weekly review or closed it out. So you can see it is fairly packed with the different layout that I tried out for this week. Since I knew we were going to be traveling, I didn't add weekend days. And similar to this layout that I'm going to be working on, I've been kind of toying around with doing a different layout, maybe having a dashboard here and then my weekly plans on the other side. Again, with travel, I just don't need that much space. So that's why we're going to try out this template over here. For this month, the main color I am working with is this light purple. So I'm going to briefly draw out a border on the top of my pages just so I can have consistency throughout the month. And it's also easier for me to mark down where my April note pages are, since all of them are going to be in this beautiful lilac gingham pattern. Sticky notes is how I dirty brainstorm for the following week. So this is the sticky notes that I was using just to annotate not only how I wanted to set up the week, but also with reminders of appointments, meetings, and just tasks that I didn't want to forget about. So I'm going to keep these handy right next to me as I build out this weekly. From past experience, I've noticed that whenever travel days are scheduled, I barely even pick up my planner. So because of that, for Monday and Tuesday, since we're still going to be traveling on those days, I know I'm not going to need all of the space again. So I'm going to try more of a weekly overview format. I think that would be kind of like the best term for this. So just a very small section to write out the highlights of things that I have to remember for the week. I'm sure many of you are going to be familiar with this layout that I'm putting down. Let me know if you have used it before and how you have liked it. I know in my instance, I typically like to keep my weeklies fairly loaded throughout the days, so I don't typically tend to gravitate towards it, but hopefully it will give me just what I need for this upcoming week. Since I already have a spot to keep my next week tasks on the sticky note, I am going to use the additional box here as a focus for the week instead. And I'm going to write my days going down vertically because that's just how my mind works. I know typically for these layouts it's laid out across, but I just thought it would be better for me to go down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on the opposite side have the rest of the week. Briefly reflecting on last week's layout, I have noticed that the curriculum habit trackers that I put here, I wanted to kind of like have it more at hand, but I did try having a sheet where I could just focus all of my daughter's curriculum in one section. So like that I had more space to lay out what was going to be the focus for the week, the days that we would have events for her, the type of activities we would hold, and everything in its own section and space. However, what I ended up discovering is that having it back here is kind of like me duplicating information. So I need to know what the events are for my daughter on my main weekly setup. So I would have to double write that information here. So with that in mind, I will be keeping a habit tracker of the main things that I want to focus on for her on my main weekly pages. And also, because I use a habit tracker for myself as well for my own things, I'm just going to separate hers and mine with a line in between. Like that, they can easily be differentiated. I did cut out a lot of my daily things, but I'm also testing out some daily pages. So that's why it doesn't bother me too much, because I can just keep track of the other habits on my daily pages. So yes, experimenting. As I add some decorative elements, I would love to know how you guys are using your planners right now. Most of all, are you still using your same January system that you started with? Around the end of May, I really started getting an itch to try something different. So April, we're chugging along, and then May, it's kind of like wanting something new again. And I'm starting to feel that. I've been curious and looking around, seeing other things on the market. Even though I do want to make the most out of this purchase, I'm not gonna lie. I have been considering other things already, and either not I don't think I'll do a switch, but definitely adding something else to my system. On my dashboard side, I did take some time to do a long column which will house all of my weekly tasks. Anything that I find that needs to get done or any additional reminders will go ahead and live there throughout the week. Some of the planner Kate icons that I got for this month weren't exactly purple, so I have been using my pens to color it in, and it can match perfectly with the color scheme that I've got going on. And we all know the wonderful thing about stickers is that whenever we mess up on our print, we can simply pick one up and put it on top of any error that we made. And that's exactly what I did here. The last thing I noted on my dashboard was for those 2 travel days, I did want to keep track of the type of weather we were going to have. So I just made a little section, drew in a partly cloudy day as well as the temperatures. That wraps up this weekly setup. Again, because I do prep this beforehand, I don't entirely fill out everything I'm going to need for the week. It's just a brief overview so it can be easier for me to get started and to already have a view of what's upcoming. Let me know if y'all enjoyed this, and I really hope we can get to seeing each other again for the next one. Love y'all, and bye-bye.